Episode number 219 with Steve and Mike. Welcome to the Heads Up Poker Podcast. This is Steve Barton.
And I was hoping it was someone else, Steve, but it's you again. Same shit, different day, huh?
Same old shit, different pile, man. How the hell are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing, Steve? Where are you? Vegas? Are you back in California finally helping your mates out?
No, I'm still up in Idaho. I'm visiting my folks, little vacation I try to do every year to go up and spend some time up at my folks' place up in Idaho. And we've been living the country life here for a while. No cell phone reception, just out in the sticks. It's pretty cool. It's been fun.
If country life involves you having sex with a sheep or something, Steve, you can just
a goat.
We can move on. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not that I know a damn thing about Idaho, but where in Idaho?
It's kind of up in the northern panhandle. The nearest big town is Lewiston. I think we have about 35 listeners from Idaho, so they know where I'm talking about, but everyone else probably doesn't. So it's up in the panhandle, just on the border of Washington. Really, really pretty up here. My folks, they got a nice piece of land up here, and just out in the country. Like, we spend our time. Gardening here involves falling trees. So there's some big pine trees growing up all around the property. They literally grow like weeds, and so every year you got to cut a few of them down, and or else eventually they're going to get blown over and fall on the house. So we cut down a few of them from that were near my mom's garden. Now our garden next year will have a lot more sun and a lot less pine needles. So that was kind of cool. I got to relive my glory days when I used to be on the hand crew fighting brush fires, and I'm certified to fall a tree up to 24 inches, and so to
use a chainsaw, or do you just run fast and drive your skull into this tree? I mean, it's pretty much the same thing.
No, I use a saw. There's a bit of skill to it. You have to you got to cut your wedge in a direction that you want the tree to fall, but you kind of have to read the tree a little bit, in that trees rarely grow like Christmas trees, in that they're not uniform on all sides. So you kind of got to look at it, look at the wind, tell which way the wind is blowing, which way is heavy on the side of the tree, and then adjust your wedge accordingly so that it falls in the correct direction. And so that was kind of cool. I got to test my skill there a little bit, because if I had a very narrow window where I had to drop these trees, or we were going to be rebuilding the garden fence. So luckily I got them both right where we needed, and then we limbed them up. And my dad's going to make a garage out of these trees that he's been collecting for the last 5 years. And so we put those up, and I don't know if he'll ever make it, but they're there if he does. And so
do you even know how to cut down trees, Steve? There's every time I think I've discovered every little nook and cranny of your expertise, there's something else you know how to do. It's pretty amazing.
We had to learn it when I was on the hand crew, because we'd go out on these forest fires, and if you didn't know how to fall a tree, I mean, you can seriously screw yourself up if you're not careful, if you don't right direction, or get out of the way. We call it an escape route. As soon as the tree starts to go, you run off in a 45 direction, because if this thing, we call it barber chairing, if this thing comes down, and sometimes if your cut is off a little bit, they can start to fall, and then literally like twist and jump, and it can be kind of hairy, but it's fun. It's fun.
How I can't remember, Steve. Maybe we've had this conversation about Idaho before. I don't remember. I didn't even know you were out there. How long have your parents had a place out there? This is kind of their retirement place. I mean, you grew up in California, right?
Yeah. I lived here when I was about 5 until I was about maybe 9. So for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, something like that. And And then, but they bought it just, I think, like a year before I was born. And then every summer when I was a kid, we'd come up here and it was our, it was our annual family vacation every year. But um, child labor laws would probably arrest my dad for what we were doing back then. He was paying us like 10 cents an hour or something to work on the house.
Right.
But we'd, pour concrete and lay block and do framing and everything. He built this entire house. It's like 4,500 square feet. It's
Wow.
really impressive at what he's been able to do with this place. It's yeah, I mean, it looks like it should be in a magazine. It's very
How many acres?
5.
So is what your eventual retirement plan is probably like something in a warm climate near the beach, right? Or I'm assuming you'll have like 9 homes, but will one of them be in Idaho, or you like it up there?
Yeah, I think so. I visualize myself having a place on the beach somewhere, and then one in Vegas, and then up here. It's really pretty, man. It's you're definitely out in the sticks. I mean, you're half an hour from a gallon of milk, or from a gas station.
Right.
But it's pretty. I mean, you can get a lot of bang for your buck out in places like this because a lot of people don't want to live so remote. So you can get a lot more money or a lot more land for a lot less money.
Probably at least a 20-minute drive till you'll find a Vietnamese massage parlor.
Oh, probably closer to like 4 or 5 hours.
Oh, okay.
We're having to cross state
Trying
lines
to get the priorities. I think you learn how to do all this, do lots of things kind of for your own pleasure. It just occurred to me though, is any of this, I don't know, if not competitive, but it make dad proud? Does he find this cool? I mean, your dad knows how to build a house. You're like, oh yeah, good. Congratulations. Guess who can fly a plane, or you know what I mean?
I don't know. Maybe a little bit of that.
Batman and baby Batman. You each guys are just so well-rounded and know how to do stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe a part of it is. I guess a part of it is. I mean, he's always been
learning.
What's that?
You enjoy learning. I mean, learning new stuff. But
I do. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's like I really admire him as far as what he's just been. I mean, like he just decided that he wanted to build a house, and so I mean, he probably has half a library on those Home Depot books, like advanced electrical wiring for houses. And he'd just devour the book, and then he wired the house, and then another one on plumbing, and then another one on fill in the blank. And one thing that I've really learned from him is visualization. He told me about a workbench that he was going to build. I remember I was a little kid. I was probably 4 or 5 years old. And I remember staring at this just flat piece of dirt that we poured a bunch of concrete on. And he said, okay, Steve, this is where the shop is going to be. He likes, working with metal and wood and stuff. And
sure.
He's like, all along here, I'm going to have a bunch of, I'm going to have this big, long workbench. It's going to be like 40 feet long. I'm like, okay. And then when we went back to California a few years later, he got this deal. This is probably where I get my what
fiscal.
Yes. my frugalness, right? He got this deal on this auction where he got all these, those old metal military desks that they have like the metal drawers, and they each weigh about 400 pounds. And well, anyways, he got them each for like $5 a piece or something. He bought 12 of these things, and they sat on the side of our house in California for no shit, like 25 years. And when he finally moved up here, he took all those, and he'd been telling me how he's going to have this big long workbench, and he's going to make it out of these desks, and they're going to be red and gray, and they just looked like these lime green, military style, desks, and all rusty and everything. And sure as shit, I came up after he was retired one year, and he had this long workbench made out of those desks, custom made. I mean, he cut them apart, welded them up, and then painted them red and gray, just like he said he was going to do 25 years earlier. And they were exactly like he said they were going to be, with a chop saw right in the middle. And I'm like, that's pretty amazing. Like he just has this ability to see things in his mind before he makes them, and then he does. and yeah, he's very, very crafty and very, he can take on a job that, would normally take a crew of 4 or 5 guys to do. And it'll take him, 4 times as long to do it, but he'll somehow engineer something so that he can do it himself. For example, he didn't want to hire a crew to come in and do the drywall for him. I mean, he did the drywall in this place. It must have taken him like probably a year. And it's 2-story with a vaulted ceiling. I mean, so some of the shit is like 25 feet in the air. And he did all the drywall up there by himself when he's in his 60s. And the way he did it was he made these 2 slides, so like these long rails, I guess is the way to put it, with these little notches cut in them and kind of like these little swivel catches on either side of the slide. So he was able to push a 4x8 sheet of plywood up, 25 feet in the air, just up these slides and a foot at a time. So each of these little catches would slide out, and then the catch would catch the bottom of the drywall, and then he would push it up to the next notch, and then push it up to the next notch, and then get on a ladder all the way up there and screw a couple corners in. And then he did the whole place like that. Like,
right.
I would have gone down to Home Depot and hired a few guys and been done in a week and a half. He's a meth addict, essentially. Feeling like Superman as he dangerously dangles over the.
Oh man! Some of the stuff is not even. It's some of the stuff. It sounds like this is something that's not even like stuff that you read in a Home Depot book. It's just coming up with your own shit. He enjoys.
Yeah, he does. He's got this big long extension ladder that's just kind of awkward to put anywhere in the shop. So he spent a few days and came up with this kind of pulley system where he puts the tip of the ladder up in one end of it, and then he's got this hook system that comes down on the other end and grabs the bottom of the ladder, and then he pulls the pulley on one side, and now the ladder's 15 feet up in the air, up in the ceiling, so it's not taking up any space. But it's really ingenious. But personally, I would have just leaned it up against the wall.
Right. It's pretty good. There's another Home Depot book I bet he got. How to mind fuck a child into digging ditches for 10 cents an hour. That's the most impressive thing.
Oh,
Dad,
man.
we're having fun.
Yes. I remember
I can't walk because I'm having serious sciatic pain here at the age of 11.
When we were roofing this place, I was probably 11 years old, and my brother was 6 or 7, and we're up on this thing laying a tin roof on top of it. I mean, if you fall, you're dead, and no safety lines or anything. It was just like, oh my god. But he taught me work ethic, that's for damn sure. It's
what a hive of lunacy that you've the Barton clan. I mean, it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So you know how to chop. You're an expert at chopping down trees. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Your 3 house. I was actually thinking about this the other day, Steve. I don't know. With your retirement plan, you still think you can retire in like 7 or 8 years? Is that the?
It's 10.
More 10 years.
Yeah.
Right around what are you, like 39 now?
I'll be 40 here in another couple weeks.
How much do you think at 50 will your overall net worth be? Let's assume, your average, this doesn't include winning a Powerball or dumping it all in some stupid investment. Obviously, you're not going to do. So I'm sure you have a number in your mind. I'm just curious. This is self-pity here, but because I'm worth absolutely nothing here, but, I'm enjoying life right now.
I think my goal is like 1.5. I don't know if that's realistic, but that's what I'm going for.
You have 1.5 plus you'll still have a steady income from hopefully, your investments, obviously, and from your pension.
Yeah. So that's my goal. I don't know if that's really, I mean,
that's
sometimes
that's interesting because I just tried to come up with a number in my mind of what you thought you had or because I figured it was something specific and I was thinking 3 million.
That
Really,
would be
a lot.
nice. That would be nice, but that's probably about double of what it'll really realistically be.
Right. It's not like your Vegas condo is going to be worth $1.5 million in 10 years or anything.
I did not, unless Jesus Christ himself comes down and touches those things. No, I don't think so. Yeah.
Well, you got some work to do, Steve. You got another goal there.
Yeah. But it's been fun. I got to play fireman a little bit. We burned up. There's always a burn pile up here. Everyone has one every year from clearing brush and trees and stuff, and tree clippings and all that. And I'll put a video up on YouTube. It was a pretty impressive burn. It was
right.
Well, it was a good one. I'm feeling a little guilty though. I'm up here.
I was going to say, I was going to bring that up. I know what you're going to talk about.
And meanwhile, California is just on fire. So I go back in 2 days, and I know I'm going to just be living at the station. So
right.
I'll be putting in my time.
Crazy ass stuff, Steve. I mean, it's just this is the new reality here.
Yeah. It's pretty nuts. They're just popping off all over the place. We got guys out and everything, and I know once I get back, it'll be 120 hours on, 24 hours off, 120 hours on, 24 off. It's going to be nuts.
Wow.
But,
so what's the there's not any fires actually in Ventura right now, are there? Or
in Ventura County, there is. There's one that just popped up today in Simi Valley, which is well, I'm trying to think. If you know Ventura County, it's kind of on the east end of northeast end, I guess, of Ventura County. That one popped off, and right now we have a condition that usually comes around every year, and it's called the Santa Ana winds, and they're these horrific winds that just blow, probably 35 or maybe 40 miles an hour, 40 to 50 miles an hour, it's pretty nuts. But yeah, so we'll see. It's going to be pretty crazy,
isn't it? I don't want it to lead into. I've read a few books on I like books about catastrophe, of course, Steve, about all the some books that have some, I would say truthful or tough-minded, but some dark views of where we're going with the environment. And I don't know if it's true of the California wildfires, but some of these places like Houston, why are they rebuilding from a flood? They're going to have another massive one every few years, pretty much because of global warming, I think. Isn't it kind of the same thing with some of these wildfires? Aren't the fires just going to get worse? Isn't it time just to stop building homes in certain parts of the state because they're too dry and dangerous?
There's a few areas that just historically burn every, 8 to 12 years. And they just rage through there. And it's the kind of thing where 30% of the people lose their homes. There's very specific canyons that I'm thinking of in Malibu. And, and I don't know that I've been around long enough or been a fireman enough to see that but even the short time that I've been doing this, 2 decades, it feels like the fires are more intense now. It feels like the weather is getting drier and hotter, and they're just burning more intensely.
Well, it is. I mean, yeah.
I think it is. I think it is.
It's not just the Barton intuition there.
Yeah, it's reality. When we went down to Guatemala a few months ago with my buddy, they were talking about these lakes there are rising inland, and you can see where stuff used to be, and now there's people built too close to the shoreline, and now their houses are underwater. And right. It's I think that's going to be kind of the new norm. I think with the ice caps melting and everything, that's going to be commonplace. People are going to have to go more inland.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not enough expert to talk about it. I do remember a few years ago, just casually on the news, is a piece of an iceberg the size of Delaware broke off today.
Wow,
I mean, that's a big chunk. You know what I mean? Wow. So, and we've seen all this. The Earth has only warmed about 1 degree. And a lot of this climate scientists say if we don't cut carbon emissions, it could be 3, 4, 5 degrees by the end of the century.
Yeah.
So things could be exponentially worse. I know this one book was going through all the different scenarios over And
Oh, that
some of
was the
them were
one
like,
you tweeted about. Like, maybe this isn't the greatest book to read while you're on the beach.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was some fascinating stuff. It's basically like talking about how, certain parts just become uninhabitable. You know what I mean?
Stephen Hawking talked about that. The physicist that I think he died about a year or so ago. He's the guy in the wheelchair that talks with the
Yeah.
with the mechanical voice. He said his biggest concern for the human race going forward in the next century is climate change, and that we're unable to stop it, and the use of plastics and
it's already this book was saying, I'm sorry, Steve, let me finish. Let me let you finish on your Stephen Hawking observation.
Oh, he was saying that, he believes that there's going to be a huge catastrophe that will wipe out most of the human race in the next 1,000 years. He says it's probably going to be a nuclear war. He said if it's not that, though, then it'll be climate change, and it'll poison the oceans, poison food supply. And I mean, when you think about it, how much trash is one person producing a year, and that's just getting buried or thrown in the ocean?
Well, they've already got like certain parts, a lot of sea animals, like plastic is like a significant part of their diet.
Yeah.
Because, you know what I mean? It's just, Steve, I don't know. This is, I wish I knew, like I said, I hesitate to get into it because I'm just repeating stuff that I read recently and don't know too intimately. But one thing was pretty interesting. Another book I read, I'm trying to remember the name of this, about this as well. Basically, not really saying Darwinism is bunk, but this whole idea of like the evolution of species, it's kind of like, basically there's been these the dinosaurs going, all the dinosaurs disappeared over like the estimates are anywhere between like 5 and 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like a gradual, they couldn't adjust to this or that. There was, now it's pretty much accepted proof that there was a giant gladiator meteor, which hit, lifted up all the dust and everything. And they had, blocked out the sun and ice age and all that other kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But throughout history, there's basically been these cataclysmic events, which it's dumb luck almost if you survive or not.
Yeah.
So a lot of these things are like violent and quick, and basically this one woman's book was saying we've entered in, like, I think that's the name of the book is like the 6th or the 5th extinction. Like the last one was the dinosaurs. And basically the global warming is pretty much comparable to a meteor hitting the earth.
Yeah.
In terms of how radically it changes things. And you talk global warming, people get angry pretty fast, Steve. I've discovered this. Because that's a card, there's, the Trump, every time there's like a cold weekend, Trump's like, what happened to global warming? Well, idiot, actually.
Yes.
Dope. Just because it's a cold winter in Chicago doesn't mean the ice caps aren't melting. But yeah, basically this woman said like at least 50% of the life on, or like, and then kind of going to the other book, like the polar bears are finished even if we got rid of carbon emissions. Like the Earth is already warming enough that the polar ice caps are going, kind of thing. So, and there's a lot of like large land animals which only like exist in zoos and nature preserves and all that kind of stuff. But the human race, man, in terms of like the other book got into some of these, like a lot of these like crises we see with the news. Like people don't understand that it's kind of, these wars can be environmental, like some civil war in Africa can actually be, they're fighting over water, like the last water source.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The river's running low and there ain't enough water for everyone, and that kind of thing. So that's going to be I don't know how to get into this, but anyways, in the you're fighting fires, you're doing your part, Steve.
I guess it I'm leaving quite a carbon footprint, though. I still drive my car every day.
Yeah.
I still use plastics. What I've always thought that And you look at it like some of the advances we're trying to do in the United States are just nothing compared to what really needs to be done. I mean, like when I travel to these other countries, I mean, very often when you go to third world countries, you can't even drink the water. So you have
Yeah.
to buy bottled water. So you have people every day that go to the store and buy plastic water bottles, drink it once, and throw it away. And that's how that's their water. And these are entire
Right.
countries that are doing this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's bad. Which brings up, another point this guy was bringing up in his book. It's kind of interesting. Is like we talk about these like political refugees. This is huge now, of course, coming from south in this country and into Europe from like Syria and that area. And it's going to be like 100 times worse or more dramatic because when you get just uninhabitable areas, when you just don't have drinking water. So there's already a lot of acrimony about our border right now. I mean, if you can imagine 100 million people from South Latin America coming up there because the Amazons are burning and you know what I mean? You can't breathe or find water down there kind of shit. Yeah, Steve, I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting stuff. It's just, this is my idea of learning. I didn't know anything about this. You like doing actual physical stuff. Occasionally I start find a subject and start reading about it. And funny thing, after reading I immediately looked for novels that were kind of about dystopian novels about like environmental, catastrophe. And I'm reading one, which is pretty fascinating about this guy who's a disaster specialist or something like that. And he's saying everyone's ignoring him. Then of course there's a massive flood, which pretty much just destroys New York City. You know what I mean? Him and this woman are riding a canoe up Fifth Avenue trying to get to land. And it's half comedy, but it is kind of.
Oh, it's a fiction. Okay.
Yeah. That's fiction, but the writing is so good. It's like, oh yeah, this is gonna, this sounds plausible.
Yeah.
But the fires right now. I mean, have you ever? do you have any friends who've actually died fighting a fire?
I'm sure I have.
Or maybe not in your
I've had a lot of friends that have died on the job. I'm trying to think of any.
I'm sure you've been to a couple, at least a couple funerals. I mean, of like neighboring of guys who've died on the job, kind of stuff.
Oh
right?
yeah. We have those all the time. That I
fire
personally
jumpers
knew that died in a fire. No, we've had a few guys. Like the last friend that I had died. He died going to. Do you remember 2 years ago during the Thomas Fire? He died. I used to work with him on the hand crew, Ryan Osler, and he died in a wreck going to a fire. He was in the water tender, basically like a big truck, filled with 3,000 gallons of water. In you use it in rural places where you don't have a fire hydrant, and it tipped over on a turn and crushed and killed him.
Yes.
It was another friend I had. That one was really sad. He had a brain aneurysm. He was 48 years old, I think. And they figured it was stress related to the job. So they called it a line of duty death. As far as
that's
fire,
it just in terms of
close calls, though. Jesus,
the people
really
who are
calls.
The people who are, it's a whole different, I don't know if you can explain. There's you're part of a city or town fire department. Then there's people who are the forestry service or whatever work for the state. Those are the fire. Those are the ones who will be on the front line most typically during like these conflagrations that we're watching right now. Or
okay. So you've got the federal Forest Service.
okay,
so these are, like a federal agency that responds to these wildland fires. Then each state has their own wildland fire department as well. The one that for California, I used to work for them. They're called CDF. Actually, they're not called CDF anymore. They're called Cal Fire, and that's basically a state fire department. And then you have each individual county or city usually has their own fire department. If it's in a busy city like Oxnard where I work, what we'll do when these wildfires happen is we'll send out. We have 8 stations, and we'll basically send out probably 3 stations worth of guys to go fight these wildland fires, and then everyone else. We can't just leave the station vacant.
Sure.
So we'll pull up another reserve engine, like kind of a backup engine, into that station. And then as long as those guys are gone, for 3 weeks or a month and a half or whatever it is, everyone else is filling their spot.
Okay.
Which is what I'll do when I get back. Those guys are going to be out on the fires, and then I'll basically just be living at work, covering them while they're gone. Because people still get garage fires and they still have heart attacks and stuff. Well,
right.
They don't care that the wildland fire is going on. They still have strokes and everything.
But basically, anyone trained or professional is kind of rushing to the front lines here. They can, as many people as they can are heading right towards the worst fires from the towns and the cities, not just the state.
Yeah, wherever the fire is. Basically, you can kind of think of it as like if you just look at California and let's say there's a huge fire in Southern California right now. Well, they'll start to draw a whole bunch of people from Northern California, maybe even Nevada and Arizona, to fight these the neighboring states, to fight, bring in more resources into Southern California, and then you draw and you thin out the resources in other areas. Well, now all of a sudden you get a fire that pops off in Northern California, but they just sent a third of their resources down to Southern California. So now you got to draw in resources from neighboring states to go cover that one. And you can get spread thin pretty quick. Because it takes a lot of time and manpower and just getting up to Northern California. Well, it's an 8-hour drive. But you got to get a team together. You got to get, we call them strike teams. So we'll get 5 engines at a time with 4 guys on each engine. So that's 20 dudes plus 5 pieces of equipment. And they got to have 1 leader. So that's a battalion chief. And then they all go up there and they drive up there and they go to the base camp. And then they get an assignment. They're like, okay, your assignment is to protect this hillside of 50 homes. And you have 21 guys and 5 pieces of equipment. So you got to triage it. Which homes are savable. This guy has a nice green manicured lawn that looks like a golf course, and then his home's right in the middle of it. That one's savable. The one that is in the middle of the forest with a bunch of trees around it and stuff, and maybe bad housekeeping and a big wooden deck right out front with a whole bunch of lawn furniture. That one you could spend all day trying to prep, and you only have 20 minutes. Before the fire gets there, you put your energy where you can save the homes.
Yeah, I wonder if there's probably a few contentious moments where, wait, why are you saving my neighbor's home? Just grab the photo album and get the hell out of here, honey.
Yeah, I'll never forget one when I was new. I was probably 19 or 20 years old, and I was working up in Northern California for that department I was talking about, CDF, the Cal Fire. And this older lady, she would just not leave her home. We're like, ma'am, you got to go. The fire's coming. She's like, I'm not leaving. I've lived here for 80 years and I ain't going. And we're like, if you stay, you're going to die. And she's all, I ain't going. We're like, okay, we can stand here and argue with her for the next 10 minutes, or we can, maybe save 3 other neighbors. And we went door to door and we came back and the house was nothing but a pile of ashes, and she went with it.
Wow.
That's it was
drop in some loudspeakers through a window next time with me talking about bad beats. That'll send her running. Sorry, you're telling a story about a poor woman dying here. I just so yeah, it's interesting how you have a certain number of trucks. It's pretty much just like the U.S. Navy heading off to the Battle of Midway. You got your battle carrier, you got 2 carriers and 1 destroyer and 1. You got to You got to diversify your strike force there. You know what I mean? You can't just have one.
Yeah, we just don't have enough.
You need your armor and your infantry and your
Yeah, I mean, it does help during the fire season. We hire, or the state they'll hire what they call seasonal crews. So there'll be kids like I used to do before I got picked up full time, is you just work the fire season. And so you get, you increase your staffing by 30 or 40% during the time when you're most likely to get these brush fires and when they're going to be the most intense, like this time of the year. And so that helps, but it's still, I mean, taxes only go so far, and you each piece of equipment that we're driving on is $750,000. They're not cheap.
Sure.
So that's, well, what do you want? do you want cheaper taxes, or do you want more fire engines? Take your pick.
Yeah, but like I said, it's just I just think it's going to get worse. The wind's probably a little stronger each year. The heat a little drier, a little more heat. So, but I don't know.
Yeah,
you're doing your part.
Yeah. How about you? How's cards going? I saw a tweet recently. You made several grand in a few days.
Yeah, there was a couple of weekends ago. I had a rough little stretch here. I'll give you sorry, Steve, I'm going to give you a bad beat story, as I was saying, but just today was pretty funny how it happened. Twice I flopped 2 pair and ran into a set. So I lost 2 big pots. That one of them was a bomb pot. You know what those are? Everybody puts in money ahead of time, and you don't play till the flop.
Yeah. How big is the bomb pot? What does everyone put?
It was $25 each.
Okay.
So I had King 5, King Jack 5, and I don't know if it's probably over. I started off the day nice, and I had my stack up to like over 2,000. Then I lost 1,100 of the pop. The other guy had pocket jacks. But there's also a flush draw out there. I don't know. I mean, somebody bet like 150. I made it 600, and then a guy shoved for 1,100. I wasn't going to fold. But he like always has a set, which of course I block, but or 2 pair. And then the same thing. Actually, Jason stacked me. He cut off first button. I opened the cutoff. Ace 10 suited. He 3-bet from the button. I called Ace Queen 10 2 hearts. I checked shove. I thought I was being a nice guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you can let this one go, Jason. I don't want to stack you.
Yeah, he had queens, or I was trying to get him to rep a flush draw. And he calls me with ace king there, but I don't really like how I played either of those hands. I could have simply been in kind of evaluate mode, check call, but I don't know. 2 pairs a good hand, Steve.
Yeah.
Both of them had flush draws out there too, so kind of sucks. Do
you and Jason still have your fat loss bet going?
Yeah, well, Jason gave up a while ago.
Oh, he did? Okay.
He was just kind of anti-sweating me, hopefully that I gave up, and I finally kind of did. Yeah, I mean, overall, I started the weight loss bet at like 232 pounds, and I'm probably down to like 213. So, I mean, I guess I've lost 20 pounds in 3 months or whatever it's been.
Okay.
But I'm not going to meet which sucks because I'm, financially struggling. I could have gotten 1,000 from Jason, and now I have to pay another guy who I bet 500 rather than, So, yeah, it's just stupid. But, what can I say? When you're fighting and scrapping and, just not nearly as motivated this time for whatever reason.
Okay. Right
on. What else did I want to talk about? Steve, you're too good here, man. The show's becoming too popular. I got some decisions to make.
Do you?
This isn't good for me. That people at Oceans now, or a little more often now, I hear people talking about this show and saying something.
Really? We're up and coming.
Well,
or have we arrived?
I do not want this. This is not good for me. I don't.
Bad for business.
Well, bad in certain ways too. Steve, this is pretty, sometimes it's your shtick here, but you're getting a pretty good, I'm kind of an open book here. I'm telling a lot about myself. I'm just sharing it into an open mic and air here. People I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't really care. But, I'm getting into my love addiction and my gambling addiction. And, I don't know. I think I got a shtick going more at the casino or, yeah, people know about all my shit, but I don't know. It's just even more, it's uncomfortable now. A couple people, there was a tournament this week, a couple LA guys mentioned it. And this is why I was thinking, Jason told him, I'm not sure if this has anything to do with it, but I said, Jason, you cannot tell anybody there that you're doing the show. I know that might kill you, but he probably hasn't, but I don't know if other people have. My friend Josh really wants to be on now. We talked.
Okay, yeah, you texted me.
I told you about him. He found out about it recently. He's like, oh man, this is awesome. I've listened to 70% of the shows just in the last year. So I think he's mentioned in a lot of hands. He's affectionately referred to as the lunatic at least a few times, but I don't know if he'd really, but he's interesting. But yeah, Josh would be a really good interview, and he would want everyone to hear it for sure. So that would be another level of, so I might have to tell my friend Josh no, but it might be too late for me here. This is something I'm feeling genuinely anxiety about. You know what I mean? Just some of the things I talk about. Not that it's.
I do a little bit too. I felt a little bit of when you're asking me about my net worth and stuff, and I'm like, hey, dude, maybe this isn't something I should be sharing on the show. I don't know. Right. Part of me is kind of like I don't want to be untruthful or anything, but then another part of me is like I think that's one of the things that makes us successful is that we are kind of true to who we are when we talk on here.
Right. Yeah, but there's I don't know. I got some decisions to make. I either have to appear here and just come on and talk about hands, Steve, and not really talk about my personal life or certainly my son, or, you know what I mean? If other people start, that's hard for me to do.
Yeah, it's hard for me too.
There's the option of just, I'm not trying to really say this is an option, but I just have to stop doing it. You know what I mean? Or just come and be not literally like a pseudo co-host, but just come on every 3 or 4 months or something. And the other one is I just have to stop going to Oceans, where I do not want to discuss this show at all because of that people are talking about. And that's not really a great option either, because that's the casino that's, we've discussed this a million times, is right up the goddamn street from me.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know, Steve. Something's going to be changing here. I think, because like I said, I've had a few people, of course, saying it, but I don't think I say anything disrespectfully about the people there. That's not really the major issue, I think. Although the one buddy, Chris, what hand was it? The hand where I actually folded a set of fives. I don't know if you remember. This is a little while ago, and I'm describing how he's drunk and crazy and stuff, but I just can't afford to lose a fucking $6,000 pot. And I'd have to go back and listen to how he described it. He's like, man, you really insulted me. My feelings were hurt there. And I'm like, well, Chris, you were drunk. You are raising blind 100, 200 every hand. I'd have to listen to it. I think at one point I said, well, he's actually a winning good player. He just loves the action and loves driving the action, and in certain spots where he doesn't need to, certainly. But
yeah.
So I don't know, Steve. I'm having a little bit of a crisis here with this show.
Moral dilemma.
Well, not moral.
I guess moral isn't the right word.
Yeah, it's just personal. I got my own happiness. If they're doing this show if it's a negative impact on my overall happiness, that's so far obviously it has not been at any point. But I either need to start censoring myself, which is just not my nature.
It's not mine either. It's not mine either. I'm such a fucking open book. Wear my emotions on my sleeve. Right. Well, I think that's probably our poker analysis, Steve, is not real high level here. I think is. I thought we were two of the greatest here. What are you talking about? And yeah, I don't know, something coming down the line here, just letting you know there might be I might be either less frequently available or just driving the conversation into talking about environmental policy. Okay. Or what a world would be like without Trump and with Andrew Yang. I don't know how enjoyable that will
that would be for some people, but we'll see. We'll stick with the course here. I got a friend. I kind of already told my friend Josh he's going to be on here, and I might have to be like, I can't do it, man. I can't have another person from that. We had Alex, of course, Venosa, but he's the same situation as me. He didn't want, I think his buddies in San Francisco listened, and he shared it with a few people for sure. But he didn't want anyone from Oceanside or from this area, any of the poker players who were local listening to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just saying, throwing that out there, Steve.
Okay. No problem.
We'll have to see. There might be, we'll see if I can make I'll talk about myself I might have to, whatever. I'll have to think about this, but I don't know. You want me to do a couple quick hands, Steve?
Yeah, we could. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back for a hand.
Okay.
I'd like to take a second here and thank our sponsors, Elliot Roe. Yes, that soft-spoken English linguist, your favorite poker hypnosis coach, and mine. Listen to one of his MP3s before you play for the exact type of game you're about to play. You'll get in the right mindset. You'll be able to focus on poker, on the game, whether it's a sit and go, whether it's a tournament, online, cash, live, whatever your game is, he's got an MP3 for all of them. Check him out. Use the code HUPOKER. Score yourself a discount. Just click on the link in the show notes and get your free 7-minute Tilt-Buster. Also like to thank Alexander Fitzgerald. He is sponsoring us with his class, Master Tournament Poker in One Class. It's a bold statement, but it's actually true. If you go through his program and you do exactly what he says, you memorize the charts, you memorize everything that's in there, which isn't too difficult, especially the way he explains it. Memorize those charts, know for what big blind stacks you're going to be shoving and reshoving, and take his advice. It'll propel you to the top 5%, which is 1 out of 20 guys makes money at this game, and you'll be one of them. Master Tournament Poker in One Class. Use the code HUPOKER, and you will score yourself the discount, just like Elliot Roe. With Alex's program, you'll get 75% off. Master Tournament Poker in One Class. Now, without further ado, let's get into some strat.
Okay, a little bit of strat here. I did go and play cards yesterday at my mom's local card room.
Okay, I meant to ask that if there's
Yeah, there's a little club. It's the Eagles. It's kind of like a charity event. I think the biggest events they'll have are maybe $100, and the smallest ones are like what we had yesterday. It was a $23 buy-in. $3 goes to the charity, $20 goes to the prize pool, and then every rebuy is $20, and there's unlimited rebuys for the first hour. So it's nuts for the first hour. And it's the kind of thing where I'm like, there's got to be a little bit of strategy, and I know that when you get a whole bunch of limps and then you're on the button with Queen Jack suited, it's like, oh, this is a fist pump 3-bet. We've all got 50 big blinds, and I think if I shove here, everyone is, someone's going to snap me off with like ace deuce off suit. If I 3-bet, everyone is calling. So I don't know. What do you do in a spot like that? You know what I mean? Like, do you 3-bet anyways and still get called by king 5 suited and ace deuce offsuit and pocket deuces and
yeah, this is something I haven't. In fact, it's kind of pretty recently. I was looking at my stats, and I have played over the last 3 years 800 hours or so of 2-3.
Okay.
At only like $11 an hour. I mean, that's a big enough sample where, I know there's guys that play that game who make $35-$40 an hour. So wow. I think a lot of times I'm in kind of don't give a fuck mode, because a lot of those are like 30-minute sessions waiting for a open.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot more limping and just calling 2 bets. Probably is the optimal way to play there.
Okay.
And just seeing flops and not paying people off and just getting max value because people aren't folding. But yeah, I discovered like the same thing. I mean, again, it's table dependent, but yeah, it's like they don't even care about the bet sizing almost.
No, they're just all, yeah. I mean, like, if the levels are 1 and 200, and you get 3 limps, and so you got 900 in the pot, and if you make it, 1,800, or if you make it 3K, they're still calling. Like, it doesn't matter. They just so
well, yeah, which of course is can be very profitable for you. That not folding thing, but your hand is less. The range is the equity one's closer pre-flop than post, where you're going to probably be able to range them better and know if you want the money to go on later streets, where if you're good or not. Essentially,
yeah.
It depends how deep the game is. How I'm sorry. What was the buy-in and the level for this game?
Oh, it was a tournament. 20.
Oh, this was a tournament. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was $23 buy-in, and then just a shit ton of rebuys. I mean, it was to the point, like, before and it's always like that at this card club. They tighten up a little bit when they get like the $40 or the $60 tournaments, but the $20 tournaments are just freaking nuts. It's like a $1.50 tournament online, and
well, they probably have 10 or 15-minute levels, so you have to just okay, I got a pair.
They got 20-minute levels, so
within 90 minutes, half the field's gone. Probably,
yes,
kind of thing. Yeah, so it's a 4.5, 5 hour tournament.
It's like 4. Yeah, maybe 4.5.
Yeah. I sorry, I was talking about like low stake cash games. Under 200 bigs, 100, 150 bigs, whatever you play. So that's if I'm going to put hours in there, I got to think a lot about ranges, and thinking is not my great passion, Steve.
Yeah. No.
But I got a couple hands I thought were interesting.
Okay, cool.
I am logging a lot of hands and talking with them about a couple buddies. Still not a real student of the game, Steve. This game is not at Oceans, another casino. It's a 5-5 game. And I am, where am I here? Okay, this is strange. Oh, this I thought would be interesting to, okay, I'm sorry. What? Okay, yeah. Sorry, Steve. I'm looking at 2 different hands and getting confused. Which one? I have $1,600, and I am UTG third to the first 2 players fold, UTG 2, and I have 10-9 of clubs.
Okay, so you're UTG 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can't really do it. Oh, that's right. This what you can button straddle here. So there was a button straddle for $10.
Okay.
So I open, and the blinds act before the button. Some places, I guess the button straddle, like the small blind, acts first. Here it's UTG.
Okay.
So anyways, it folds to me. I bet 40.
Okay.
And the hijack calls, the hijack, the cutoff, and the button, I'll call. Or the hijack and the cutoff call, and the blinds fold, and then the button calls.
Okay. All right. So 160 plus 10, 170 in the pot?
Yep.
Okay.
And the flop is Jack 9-3 rainbow with 1 club, 1 spade, 1 heart. So gutter ball.
Okay. And which one was the club? Do you remember, the Jack or the 3?
The 3 of clubs.
Okay. All right. And it's on us.
Yes. I think this would be a check. Usually, right? I mean, I don't know, do you bet small and then fold for value, charge them for a draw? But I think mostly this is in a heads-up pot, I bet. But I think in a four-way pot, I'm just checking and, possibly giving up, depending on the action in the villain. I'm not ready to call down 3 streets here for
middle pair
$900 or anything. Don't want to be a hero, so I will make some exploitive folds depending on the table.
Yeah.
But so I think check is the play.
I think so.
Especially obviously
with so many opponents and we're out of position.
Yeah, it's 4-way, and the other 3 players have position on me.
Yeah.
So I check, and the other 3 players check.
Okay. Sure.
And the turn is the 5 of spades.
Okay. Now putting 2 spades out there.
So I don't know if I like this decision or not. And this is the button is this guy. This is going to be the main villain in the hand. And just to give you, anytime I start talking about game flow, you can tell I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. But I would describe, he's like a 50-year-old dude who had the hoodie and just, I don't know, kind of cold eyes, was listening to the earbud. And I immediately just recognized this person. I call him an egomaniac.
Okay.
That's like the main way I can right away I spot him, where there's just like a lot of ego involved here. He wants to not just, he wants to win money the hard way and bluff, and he likes, but he had already check raised me off a couple pots, and he seemed decent. I don't know if he's a winning player or not. I mean, I think
I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
I think
you described him quite well.
An older guy who's probably a successful lawyer, really smart, and then when he comes to the card room, he's just in, his relaxation quote is going to war kind of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but he's like a smart guy. He's going to make probably some big mistakes and big pots. But he if he ever leaves the casino losing, it's probably, he thinks, because he ran bad sort of guy.
Yeah.
So I decided to bet second pair here. I probably should still be in check call mode. Because I really thought there was a decent chance that, because I know I would do the same thing when it checks on the flop. I'm like, okay, no one has a jack. So if I button on the position, I might check, and then if anything gives me extra equity on the turn, or maybe any card, I'm going to raise. So I kind of induced with second pair here because I was expecting the raise, but it was. So what happened? I bet only 60. And
60 into 170.
Yeah. And then the hijack and the cutoff fold, and the button makes it 300. Button, by the way, had about 1,200 to start the hand. I had him covered.
Okay. What'd you say he made it? 300?
I went for 60, and he made 300. It's not like a massive raise. It's, appropriate to the size of the pot, I would say.
Okay.
Since I bet small, he could have even bet big. But
you were kind of half expecting him to do this, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's specific. Like I said, this is kind of me throwing the money in the pot, but I remember guy and saying to myself, well, I don't mind him putting a lot of money in when I have kind of marginal holdings. I'll let him go ahead and try to blast me off top pair, weak kicker shit. You know what I mean? He's an ego guy. So if he senses weakness, and here he can appropriately sense weakness, he's going to raise probably, not infrequently. But I at the time I was, I don't know if it's like lucid thinking. I think this might have been 3 a.m. after an 18 shift. But I was kind of expecting him to raise, and when he raised, I was definitely not folding. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe I didn't get the exact result here, but so I call.
Okay.
And the river is the ace of diamonds, which is I don't know. We'll have to discuss that. If it's a good card or a bad card.
770 in the pot now. I'm wondering, going back to the turn, I wonder if I was thinking this might be a check.
It probably is. in a four-way pot. Well, let's put it this way. On the pre-flop raiser, when I check the flop, what are the chances that any of them have jack or better?
When everyone checks through on the flop, what's the odds that they got jack or better?
Yeah, I think there's nobody is going to in a three-way pot, with straight and gutter ball, a couple straight draws out there. I think people are always betting top pair. I think nines and jacks frequently would have three bet pre.
Yep, I agree.
I'm just helping you as my mind goes how I was ranging this as it went along. So when everybody checks back on the flop, I immediately.
Yeah, I feel the same. I feel like there's it's very rare that someone has a jack or a an overpair. I think they would have three bet you there. I think they would have three bet you with nines plus. So
betting the nine is for value here because no one has a jack. That's kind of my thought, and I can get called by worse. These are there's some weaker players there. They can call with ace five. You know what I mean? They might call it. So let's range him when he raises there. Jack 9 5-3 with two spades.
I think a lot of ace X of spades would make sense.
Okay.
Spade draws. This guy's probably betting like queen 10 on the flop and 10-8, but it's kind of nice that I didn't verbalize it, but I like that we have a 10, the 10-9 here because we block a lot of those.
Right.
A lot of those.
Well, I was operating under the assumption that like I said, he's a decent player. You want to build a pot here if somehow you flopped a set of nines or threes.
Yeah.
Like he's always squeezing with the jacks. That I'm taking, or 90%. Nines and threes, is he betting him on the flop? I think just mostly. If he has jack nine suited, I think he's best. So when he raises the turn, whether he realizes it or not, he's repping pocket fives. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Unless, because he had the button and he already paid for the button straddle, like I said, there's an ego guy. So he might call with 5-3 suited. I mean, I might. 5-3 suited is not a bad hand. So there are a couple two-pair combos there when he hits two pair on the turn. We don't know how wide he is pre. But like I said, I bet for value.
Yeah.
And I still felt pretty strongly I had the right hand, the better hand here. I didn't. So the ace comes on the river, and I check, and he shoves for $850.
Yeah, he overbet.
Now, what two pair does he have now here? Let's just try to think about what beats this here. I don't think he has a jack. I don't think he has a set unless it's exactly a set of fives. I don't think he has a lot of two pair here, but I'm not going to say that never has two pair. He might just check back jack nine because he wants to raise the turn. He might check back nines and threes too because he wants to raise. So you can't really take all that out. But I thought he's betting that a lot. So I thought it was a lot of just total air. But here's the other issue. Like you said, just ace X, whether flush draw or maybe just some random ace X. Does he do this with the ace on the end? A lot of people, the average casual player, this is a spot where they miss value. I see this all the time where they miss value.
Yeah.
They hit their ace on the river and they're just so happy to suck out, they don't even bet.
Yeah, they just check and they're happy to win the hand and they don't realize that they could have got an extra $300.
So when he bets and I call it, if he's ranging me, it looks like I've got some one pair hand, which is certainly not aces. Maybe I'm almost never betting ace king there, ace queen there. It depends. You don't really know how other players think of you. So basically, if he hits an ace on the river somehow, he has to think he's good.
Yeah.
But does he shove? I think he bets smaller. Maybe he's really good. He does shove and like, okay, this guy's never got ace king. He's got a pair. He's not going to believe me. That's a spot too where I might bet small or check, but it is a great spot to overbet shove if you somehow you have an ace.
Yeah.
Because it's just hard to put, like I said, it'd be hard to put him on. I could say, well, if he had a miss, if he had the ace high flush draw, he's not shoving here, So I took a while on this one, and that was kind of a factor. I didn't think he was good enough to bet an ace on the river there.
Yeah.
I really thought he would bet the flop with really strong hands. Like I thought he had some goofy ass two pairs there. Like maybe he had ace nine, or for some reason turned ace three or ace five on the turn into a raise, which I actually kind of like, rather than trying to be hero down with second or third pair, turn it into a bluff. Pump it big. I do that all the time. So I thought there were some two pair combos, but I thought there was no one pair hand he had there. I think this is pretty relevant.
It's either just
if he never has an ace, and he's almost all the two pair plus combos, at least on the flop, it's like he's almost repping just the one fucking hand here, man. Like maybe 2-4 of spades, or gets there with a straight or something, or he's repping pocket fives. I actually talked to Alex about this, and he's like, Jesus, does this guy realize he's repping just one hand? I mean, it's kind of what he was.
Yeah.
So I took my time, but I thought it was a pretty easy call. And I called, and he had king 10 of spades.
Okay.
He picked up he had the gutter ball, and he picked up the flush draw. And I don't mind how he played it. I thought it was okay. I mean, I don't know. I think probably actually, if he's playing with three other pros, or how he's thinking of things, like I said, he's an egomaniac. He thinks he's just smarter than everyone else. So he's probably not. He just knows he's putting pressure on people. He's not probably at the level of, well, what am I repping right here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So he was just gonna. So I think he's just supposed to flat the turn when he can just be happy he picked up equity.
I would think so.
Because if he raises here, I mean, but he knows I'm not super strong, so maybe I'm not going to. But if I think I'm good, I'm even with my short bankroll, Steve, I do call. So I was gonna.
Nice call, dude. That.
And the funny thing, when I called, I turned and I said, "Do you have a set?" Mm-hmm. He's like, after the hand, he's like, "What a fucking set?" He's like, all I need is a jack to beat you. I'm like, "Yeah, but I didn't really get into it." I'm like, "But you're not betting a jack there.
Yeah,
you're not two pair hands, and you're not betting a one pair hand. So you got, you either played in nines and threes, kind of casually, or you just, softly on the flop to trap, or you somehow hit a five on the turn." So I'm sure some GTO people could break this down and analyze and be saying like, well, if this is why you have to bet your ace on the river, or this is why you can't raise the turn. And there's probably those people at a higher level could analyze it. But anyways, I think I looked through this one pretty.
Nice call, dude. Nice call. Decent. I guess. Yeah, you're right. He's either got air there, or he's got a set, and that's about it. And there's a lot more air.
Yeah, like I said, this was my read at the time. This is how I analyzed at the time, and I happen to be right. I mean, I might, like I said, maybe I just don't. Yeah, maybe a few people have got a few more check. I never in position. I mean, how often are you going to check a set there in the four-way pot? I think for me, it's probably zero.
Yeah, like almost never.
Maybe on if it was a 3-bet pot and three people call me and it was like king 8-4,
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where there's not, or king 8 deuce, where there's not even one flush straight draw out there.
Yeah, but like everyone has 10-8 and everyone has queen 10.
Somebody's got range. King queen. Someone's got there's probably like three. You're probably like, even if you flop top set here against three other players, you're probably dodging 8+ outs.
Yeah.
In a lot of
which a lot of them will call you.
Yeah. Backdoor. You're charging them for the 2 overs with the backdoor flush and everything else. So I just thought he's some guys might be trappy there, but this guy knows that he should be betting his monster hands, and he didn't bet the flop. So
Right on. Nice call, dude. Nice call.
thank you, man. Where's the other hand I wanted to do here? I thought would be interesting. I know we had fun once we did this before, where I will let you play my opponent, and I will not. You were playing against me, and I will not tell you what I have.
Oh, okay. Yes. Let's do this.
Does that sound like fun, Steve?
That sounds like fun.
Let me again I have to look at this. I do remember this was like 5 a.m, and there was like 5 of us playing. And the main villain here is a poker pro. For sure. I haven't played much with him, but he's definitely, and funny thing, I was getting respect. He gave around when he saw me. This was the same session. He saw me call with the 10-9. He was like, "Whoa, how'd you know?" And I was, it's weird.
Okay.
But this is how he booked. I have it as 5-handed on my map. I'm remembering it being 4-handed, but I have it as 5-handed here. This guy is directly to my right and has like $1,300. I'm on the button. He is on the cutoff.
Okay.
Or I should say, you have ace-5 of clubs with $1,300 in the cutoff.
Ace-5 of clubs, $1,300 in the cutoff, and we're 5-5, right?
And I have 2,200.
Okay. Mikey has 2,200. Okay.
And the straddle's on. There's 3, so I'm on the button, but the small blind, big blind, and the under the gun with the 10.
Okay. So it folds to me in the cutoff?
Yes, with ace-5 of clubs.
Okay.
He's probably going to play every single street, do everything different than you, but just to get you in his seat, because he has some he has some interesting decisions to make in the hand. Let's put it that way.
Okay, cool. All right, so it folds to me, and you said this is 5-5, and then the button is straddling. So you're straddling?
No, the under the gun straddling.
Oh, under the gun straddling. Okay. All right, so I'm first act then. Yeah, I'll make it. I don't know, probably 40 here.
I can't remember if I typed this in wrong. This was like a week and a half ago. I think he was raising big,
Okay.
which is smart. Anytime you're in the cutoff, because there was a couple of weak guys there were just calling everything. You know what I mean? Just charge them for it. And they're playing, especially if you're playing fairly strong range. So you bet 60 here.
Oh, all right. Make it
Probably
60.
because he's,
yeah, because he's going to get called by 5-4 diamonds or something.
Yeah. And I call on the button, and the other 3 players fold.
Okay. So we got 60 plus 60, 60, 120 plus another 10 and 5 and 5. So that would be
140.
140 in the pot.
And the flop is 6-6-3 with 2 spades.
Okay, 6-6-3 with 2 spades, and I have the ace of clubs, 5 of clubs.
Yes.
Okay, and Mike's behind me. All right. When you just go there.
I mean, here again, Steve. I'm always lamenting my own. I have ways of dealing with my own ignorance now that I just don't do. This would be one where you run into do a comprehensive range analysis and run through PO Solver, and I mean, there's a way to know like what hands are you supposed to be c betting here. I don't know. I don't even know the answer. Pairs, total air. I'm not sure. So how you construct a range there is, but as a default,
I feel like I should be betting here. And if there was like a club out there, then I might be a little bit more likely to check. But I don't know. I think you have a lot of king, queens, jack highs, and I think I'm ahead of fair party range.
I mean, well, I guess it'd be how you perceive. I mean, what's your plan with if you bet ace-5 and you get called here? Are you shutting it down unless you get an ace, or are you going to be barreling some big cards in the turn and putting me on a middle pair? I mean, looking ahead, what is your c bet here? What is, What's the plan moving forward? If you think I got a lot of,
I mean, are you really calling there? If I bet into 140, if I bet 80, are you calling with King Jack?
well, this is for you to decide, Stephen. Well, let's just. I'll give the action here. Like what specifically you're supposed to be. I'm trying to think in that spot against like a pro, the other good player at the table.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be giving up here a fair amount.
I would think so.
So I don't know if this is a give up hand or not, or bet real small. And then if you want to, just see what happens. Anyways, this guy bets 80.
Okay.
And the man on the button, who may or may not be a lunatic, raises small to just 200.
Rampageous makes it. What'd you say? 200?
200.
200. Okay. I would fold at this point, but I got a feeling that's not what this guy does.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's four. The price is, I mean, again, ranging me. What do I bet so small with? I mean, this is a really small rate. You only have to put 120 in. The pot is 420.
Yeah. I would think you're going to be doing this with like pairs, probably fours, fives.
Why would you think that I'd be raising pocket nines here or something? Wouldn't I? Because I wouldn't want to be black, because I'd probably have to fold if you shove.
I would think you would 3-bet nines here.
Right. But I'm just saying, with this raise, like how many single pair hands? Usually from the villain's perspective, this raise is, sometimes it's just total crap, trying to just thinking the guy's c-betting too much.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I'm probably raise here a fair amount with stuff I'm not supposed to be raising with. But usually in the average situation, when someone's raising on this, they usually have a 6, pocket 3s, or a flush draw.
Yeah.
A lot of people. I mean, it depends here. Someone might. I mean, like I said, it depends. But very few people on the button here. Or I mean, I shouldn't say that. I mean, I guess if for some reason you didn't 3-bet nines, this would be a good spot to.
This would be a great spot to do it. Yeah.
Or this would be just a great spot to see where you're at. I don't know if that's your thing. If you want to call down, if you raise and then this guy either gives up or you've taken control of the hand, so you don't have to face a $280 bet on the turn.
Yeah.
If you just raise now with 7s or 8s, you know what I mean? And this guy just flats here. But on the other hand,
see, what I'm thinking you could have in this spot is, I'm thinking you could have, when I make it 80, you make it 200. I'm thinking you could have, like you said, a 6, 3s, 4s or 5s, 6s, possibly 7s, but I just can't imagine you.
So if you were me,
3-betting with 8s plus there. So I'm taking like 8s plus out of your range.
So why would you raise with pocket 5s, not and just flat with 7s? I'm confused. Why? Oh, you're thinking 7s. I raise pre. You're thinking if I have a pair.
No. I'm saying you raise with 7s on the flop.
Okay, but 4s or 5s, you think I would flat here?
I think you'd raise with those. From your perspective, I'm probably betting all over cards, right?
Well, Steve, let's just say you are on the button right now. The guy c-bets for 80 and you have 4s or 5s. You would be raising there.
I think so. Would I be raising that? Maybe you're right. Maybe I would just be flatting.
I mean, if we think I'm not going to tell you.
The vast majority of the time we're ahead there with a pair on a board like this, 6x3.
Right, but why are you? What do you? If you were to raise and you got re-raised,
then you got to fold.
The pro you're going against realizes, wait a second, what the fuck's he raising with? He either has a 6 or a flush draw he's willing to go with, and everything else he's kind of got to fold because he didn't he would have 3-bet the big pairs probably,
Yeah.
This might be like a hand that's more interesting to discuss after, just so we can discuss what me and him are thinking about.
Okay. All right.
But I'm
rating on the parade here, huh? Sorry. Okay.
So I have rated this 200, and this player is a non-believer, and he calls.
Okay.
So
now we got 540 in the middle.
540 in the pot.
Okay.
And the turn is the 2 of clubs.
Okay.
6, 6, 3 deuce is the board.
Okay. And the other 6 was not a club, right? So there's not 2 clubs up there now.
Just 2 spades, yeah.
Okay. All right. And well, we got a gut shot.
You picked up equity, that is true.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, your plan is always to check and evaluate here, or are you ever leading, like pretending you were? I mean, the lead would make no sense. I think from my perspective, it's like, what could you possibly do in that unless you somehow had 6x? But from my perspective, I mean, just as this goes down here, I'm not going to say what my hand was. When you call the raise here, you usually have an overpair.
I think so.
Or ace king.
Yeah.
Or ace king with a spade.
Yeah.
I don't think you're so I would not be putting too many ace highs in your range, maybe necessarily. I don't know. But again, my bet is very strange here. Why to go so small? Because you're getting called so frequently.
Yeah.
I can't remember the specific. I think I might have been. Well, let's just go on to what happens this hand. So you check, which I think you agree is the thing to do.
Yeah. Even with an overpair and everything, just check and let you bet it.
And I take a while and then check behind.
Okay.
Which, from the villain's perspective, is a very strange check.
How long did you take? Like 5 seconds or like 20?
Oh, like 20 seconds is a long time here.
Okay.
Yeah, like 20 probably.
Okay.
But so when I check behind, what are you now ranging me at? If for some reason I did what you suggested, which is to raise 4s or 5s, then I would probably be checking back now because I just picked up some free equity with the straight draw.
Yeah.
And I might be good anyways, and I can bluff catch on the river if necessary, but so originally
1,100 effective, something like that. No, less than that, like a grand effective.
But from your perspective, usually the things that I was repping, I'm going to have to proceed with my story of the 6 here. I'm usually, well, I mean, I don't know how you would think of it, or this whole session, what he's thinking. But usually, if I have a 6, why would I slow down? I should be trying to get stacks in there, and and I'm hoping that you have 10s, jacks, queens kind of hand.
Exactly, an overpair.
So when I check, do you think I'm just kind of giving up with the flush draw? Do you think my raise was it could be something totally random, like 7s, where I was kind of raising to see where I'm at just to make sure I didn't have to put money on the turn card?
I would think flush draws. Would you check a flush draw there?
I personally probably have done that spot where I've raised with a flush draw on the flop.
Yeah.
But then have just not done what technically you're supposed to do, which is just to keep barreling with it, just because.
Yeah, it's kind of a neat spot because you can raise small there, and then you get to the river. Yeah. You get to see both cards basically for a small raise and play accordingly.
Right. So as you view my range, that's one possible thing. I have a marginal hand. I could also, if I had quad 6s, I'm probably raising very small or flatting the flop.
I suppose you could have 4-5 or something, but we block that, so that's less likely.
My small bet size, though, usually if someone has a draw, they are going to bet a little bit bigger there. So I would, but I think the one thing, just saying this is a smart player, is that I never have a 6 here.
When you check the turn.
Well,
or are you saying even on the flop?
We discussed the hand liability. He's like, you never have a 6 there. And I was like, well, if he's right, then I got to change my game a little bit. And you do actually have to have the 6 there. You do have to check a 6, but I don't think so. I think you just, at this point, I'm probably blasting off with a 6 very frequently, or at least this is what he was thinking, and I'm sure you'd be thinking the same thing. It's like, wait, why is he shutting down here? It's a dumb one-ass bluff, and now he's giving up. Is it a marginal hand? So if you had to guess my few hands, what are your guesses here?
I'm gonna stick with 4s, 5s, 7s, flush draws. As long as you took, I might think that you still have a 6. So I might disagree with him on that.
But we do go to the river,
or even like a boat already.
Right. But again, this is okay. We'll just go to the river action here. The river is the 2 of hearts. So 6, 6, 3, deuce, deuce.
Okay. What the hell am I doing here? Probably check calling depending on your sizing. I mean, we're still beating all your draws except for
well, let's what would be are there any arguments for betting here?
Well, what are you going to call with that? You're saying betting as a bluff, not as a value bet?
Well, I mean, yeah, I would think that's why you do it, unless you had some stone cold soul read on me, of course, where you're betting to induce and call the person with the ace because you think they have too many missed flushes and other shit in their range.
Oh, that's a good point.
That would be like higher level stuff. Most people, I think, are probably in check call. You could also be betting to push it off a chop,
that's a good point. Yeah.
I would think, again, you have to think about how their plays the range. If you had queen, what would you do?
If I had queens, is that what you said?
Yeah, rather than ace 5, if you would probably, obviously, if someone raises small on the flop, you wouldn't just say, okay, fuck it, I'm shoving my queens. You'd probably just call and let the person barrel off, right?
Yeah.
Mostly. So if you did have queens and I checked back on the turn, would you bet for value on the river here? I guess the question is, right away you have to think, if you think I'm capable of, if I'm going to be shoving here, you have to be, well, do I have to check call? Can I not fold the queens? This is why people just misvalue just all the time, and I see it so frequently now.
I would think if
just
I got queens there, I'm gonna bet bet for value on the river and fold is just a nightmare for casual players. They just can't do it without just being just outraged. You know what I mean? Yeah.
A lot of people are just going to bet queens here and just be, oh, you don't have a 6, good. Where you could bet and then fold to a lot of villains kind of thing. Where. So if you had queens here, I think it'd be a mistake for you not to bet as the hand's been played.
I would think I'd throw out 220 minimum, maybe 3. What am I getting called by? I guess I'm getting called by 7s, 4s, 5s.
And the game theory, the game theory optimal people will say because I'm saying, well, you don't have queens, but if you wanted to rep queens and get me to fold 4s, 5s, 7s, and 8s. You put me on those possible hands.
Yeah.
So if you saw me, if you knew for a fact that I had pocket 4s, what would you do? Would you think just on this board, the way the hand's played, he's never folding, I'll just check and give up? Or would you be like, you know what, this player, when I bet here, is going to put me on 9-10 Jack Queen, an overpair, because that's what I'm supposed to. That's really kind of the biggest part of your range here is overpairs. We're talking about from my perspective. I don't know what you have here at this point. You should have mostly overpairs.
I agree.
So, yeah, I mean, like I said, it just seems.
Well, that's a good point.
So now, maybe you want? But you don't have an overpair, but you're still think you're ahead a few hands that I have, right? Which is the flush draws.
Yeah, the flush draws.
I think this is a really bad mistake by this player. I could be wrong. That he bets 350.
Okay.
And but again, this would not be for value. This is obviously a bluff on his part.
Mm-hmm.
Bet 350, and like I said, this is relevant. But I would think jacks or queens would be thinking this other player is folding a lot, and I have to bet small to get anything. To get
like 220.
To be getting. Yeah, to get his 4, 5, 7s, and 8s to call. I would want to bet smaller for value. So this guy bets 350 though. And I won't even tell you my hand. I'll tell you exactly what I was thinking. I will just play it. I shove.
Okay.
So I take a little while, and I look kind of confident. I don't know, but I can't. I don't know how I did exactly, but and so I shove, and you have only $715 left. Right now, you're pissed at yourself because you bet so much. First of all, because you're getting a price to catch to bluff catch here. You're getting such a pretty sick price for it. I mean, you got to pay $715 to win a pot of $2,500. So basically, if you think I'm bluffing. If you think you're good even just 35% of the time here or something,
you're good, yeah.
So what do I have? I mean, what do you basically? We didn't think. You don't think I had a 6 on the turn, and I should never have a deuce unless it's ace deuce of spades. I think that's definitely a possibility. I mean, it's one hand combination, but it's a plausible way.
That's a possibility.
If you think again, this would be how you would be viewing me too, though. You're like, is this guy good enough to bet a deuce here? Like a lot of guys with just a deuce here are just calling. Oh, maybe he's trapped me with the 6s. But like,
no.
I might
raise the deuce there.
I think if I'm putting you on an overpair, then if 90% of your range is overpairs, then yeah.
You got to shove a deuce there.
No, I thought you said you can't shove a deuce there.
See,
yeah.
I don't think. I think a 6 could be in your range. The way you described it, as long as you took on the turn, I think you could have a 6 there. I could be wrong. I mean, I don't. I'm just make believing your range here, but I think you could have a 6 there. Something like 5, 6, 6, 7. Would you call ace-6 on the button there? Ace-6 suited with I think you'd fold that, right? Or would you 3-bet it pre-flop?
I might flat ace-6 suited, but 3-bet or fold ace-6 off. I'm probably just. I don't think my. I don't think I have that much crap in my range. 6-8 suited, 6-9 suited, 6-4. Yeah, no, there's a lot of 6s in my range. I have 6s. But your analysis on the turn was I'm always going through. I'm always trying to get the chips in with the 6 here. So I have to bet the turn really to do that.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Okay.
Your read going into the river was that much, right? We kind of. We didn't necessarily know if he had the best hand, but we did not put him on a monster.
Yeah.
But like I said, you can't dismiss that possibility. So what do you do? I mean, if the problem is, of course, too, do you think I'm good enough, or is this something I would do? I mean, this is the kind of thing that happens at higher level games.
Yeah.
I kind of am capable of doing it. Range versus range, where the two players are supposed to be. This is terrible thinking usually at a 2-5-5 game, but this would happen all the time in a 5-10 game here, where if I had 4s or 5s on the button, or if some other pro, they might decide to turn that into a bluff here to get the person to fold 9s, 10s, jacks, queens.
Yeah.
So do you?
Well, I probably would have checked the river. But
yes.
As played, betting 350, I'm going to fold.
He takes about the longest time I've ever seen someone fucking tank. 5 minutes. You know, I didn't call for it because I knew he was really thinking and going through every permutation, every hand, and I'm like, and his obviously read was, well, I'll just tell you, he called correct. I had king jack of hearts.
Ooh, okay.
So I had absolutely nothing, and he decided obviously. Now, it would have been a brilliant move if he was trying to actually induce me to do this.
Yes. Yeah.
But the fact that he did, I told him afterwards, I'm like, well, your bet is terrible if you weren't planning on bet folding. I mean, your plan should have been bet folding or bet calling.
Yeah. Or check calling.
Yeah, those were the best options, really. Check call or check fold, I think. Or like we said, bet kind of a medium bet that looks like jacks or queens trying to squeeze a little value, and maybe if for some reason, but like I disagree with your analysis that I'm raising 4s and 5s and 7s there. I don't think very often those kind of pairs. So I'm just
okay. You're not raising those
on that flop. I don't. Yeah, I can.
You would just call them?
I'm struggling to see a reason for why you would be raising the.
You're raising in his spot, he's going to be betting like all his Broadways. He's going to be betting.
Right. You know. Then why I get him to fold? Make him bet again. I mean,
that's a good point.
We're protecting our equity, but if he has king queen here, you know, he's only got 6 outs on us. You know, where we don't mind him. Getting a shot to blast again. I don't know. I just think he can take all those. This is why it was a good call. I'm saying he can. I'm not betting any single pair, raising any hands there. I'm raising a flush draw, which missed, or a 6, which missed.
A 6, which missed?
I mean, I'm betting a 6. I don't have a 6. I'm saying I either raise with a flush draw or a 6, and he's saying I'll never play a 6 this way.
Okay.
It turns out I got neither of them. I'm sure he factored that in just crazy. Now, as it turned out, we both kind of played everything terrible, but we both made some courageous moves at the end there. I think punting is interesting because my read was like, if this guy bets 200, 250, he's got jacks or queens. He's betting for value.
Yeah.
If he bets big, he has absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And I still have fold equity. So, yeah. Kind of just trying to, I was going to, I didn't follow through with I was just going to raise small on the turn and then maybe bet small on the it's something I do quite a bit is we'll bet small on flops, but raise big on turns, or bet big on turns. I guess that was I was just trying to steal it. I just thought that he's a guy who oversee bets, which he did.
Yeah.
Which he does. You know what I mean? And I'm not really repping much here, but it wouldn't matter. So, but on the turn, I'm like, okay, he probably would have folded all his ace-X, even though he's getting a good price. I don't think he's going to stick around just, So I thought on the turn, I was just giving up because I thought he had some sort of pair, or you had a pair. But then you bet the river big. I'm like, wait a second. This seems strange. So I shoved, and like I said, it'd be ingenious if the guy knew he was going to call, but he had to take some think about it. And afterwards, he's like, "What was I doing even betting the river?" You know what I mean? It put him in a ridiculous spot.
Yeah.
And he figured it out, and I guess congrats to him. He made a good call.
That is a pretty tough call. It. I would have checked the river. and then decided at the time, depending on your size and timing, I guess, like whether I'm going to call or not. But I wouldn't have
Yeah,
ever
I
really.
thought well, the more time he took, I kind of knew he was gonna figure it out. Like I said, I really thought I had him here. I thought I just made a great move at the time. I was very proud of myself for thinking about his bet sizing and his whole range and everything else. And it's
Yeah,
like, okay,
yeah,
he
yeah,
doesn't have a pair. Maybe he had the flush draw,
yeah,
or maybe he's extremely turning. And I didn't even think he had ace high here. Really, I thought he had. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, what? No, I knew he had. Sometimes he had ace high, but like his bet sizing just. I didn't even break it down in a specific hand. I'm like, well, okay, he's. I mean, he could bet aces or kings big there, I guess. But anyways, so we both did a lot of stupid shit in that hand. My king jack suited is probably just not a hand people raise on that flop, or if they are, they're going to proceed on the turn. And I think a lot of people would not like his c bet, and maybe not like him calling the raise, and certainly not like his river bet, unless he really had me. I mean, I've seen people do that, certainly. Bet ace high or bet some really like fourth pair on the river just because they know the guy will think you're weak and make a move kind of shit.
yeah, yeah.
So, but that really wasn't. So we both kind of didn't really play this. So this when I say pros going, this wasn't like poker superstars battling it out, but, two guys who are grinders who, make a living playing poker.
Well,
But,
you're a level above me, man. So that was I kind of like your
three
move
levels
on the end
below. I don't know.
at
The play would have
yeah,
worked. It was a bad opponent, I guess, especially when, I was hoping also it's 2 a.m. He was just going to like frustrated, throw it in the muck. And once he started taking time, I'm like, oh,
you're all,
fuck.
oh
He knows the question is, and everybody discussed this was like kind of liked my reasoning for shoving the river. So that was like the one. But they said, when you check back turn, you're just repping absolutely nothing on the river here. Because
yeah,
on the turn, you're going to be betting, you're going to be betting hoping the guy has no repair and he just can't fold.
yeah.
You're always going to be trying to get stacks in here, which is very hard to do if you check back the turn. So yeah, I was repping almost nothing. And the guy called. The funny thing, he should be happy. He was just staring me down for like, dude, you're a sicko. But he was like, I don't know if he was angry or / half impressed with my game, but
Rampage, living up to your name.
Yeah, I gave it away there. I don't know, Steve. I do that sometimes. I thought it was a couple interesting spots just for people had some big river decisions to make.
Yeah, it was.
Wasn't just your, aces versus kings and, how do I get the guy to call with my quads or, you know what I mean? So I thought it was a couple decent hands to discuss.
Right on.
And I'm also trying not to discuss my personal life as much, Steve. So therefore,
yes,
we should have waited an hour maybe to start this interview because now the edibles have kicked in.
They're going strong.
Yeah, no, I'm really loosening up here, Steve. I really want to open up now more, but I'm sure you've already been talking to me for an hour and a half. I'm sure you've had enough. Actually, we've almost gone for 2 hours today. What the hell have we talked about? I don't even know.
I know. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, yeah, we're approaching an hour and 45 minutes here. What's going on? This is
Have I asked you this question before? I was actually thinking about this the other day, but now it's even interesting with you knowing how to chop trees down. Well, that was for work. Not. Have you ever like started some journey to I want to master this, I want to learn about this, and then you just like gave up? Like either this is stupid or it's too hard. I mean, this is your title. Your entire ninja samurai code is self-improvement and working hard and achieving your goals, right? I mean, is that fair to say?
Oh, there's a lot of stuff that I've done that I thought I was all into, and then once I what's a good example here? I kind of approach it like, as long as I'm having fun, then I continue doing it. But if I start doing something and this is just not enjoyable to me at all, then I give it up. And one of those that's coming to mind right now while I'm thinking about it is martial arts. I did martial arts about 2 years. And the last 6 months or so, I got into the sparring. And I'm glad I did it, but you know, once you really start punching and kicking each other, I mean that it hurts.
Right.
You get bloody noses and you just black eyes and
I'm
I
picturing
got
Steve
knocked out
after
a couple of
training.
times and it just wasn't as fun as I thought it would be. I'm like,
I'm
I
picturing
feel
you
like you.
after a year and a half of training, you get punched for the first time, and it's like literally like the light bulb going off, like the cartoon. Wait, we are training to hurt each other here. Well, I'm sure probably. Yeah, some of the other reasons people stay. I mean, there is like you don't have like the macho need ego prove yourself kind of shit. You know what I mean?
No.
That's
I
a
could
lot for a
kind
lot
of.
of men. Well, a lot of guys like the competition, the exercise, and obviously a lot of that stuff. But I think there's a certain psychology too for probably a lot of the people who, you know.
There was one thing that I learned from that, and that is you have absolutely no idea who really knows how to fight. Because I fought some guys that um, just looking at them, if I saw them out on the street or at a bar, I'd be like, this guy doesn't know how to handle himself. But they did. I mean, one of them was a 60-year-old man that like came in walking slow and wearing glasses, and then as soon as you started sparring with him, like that man, he could kick my ass, and I was like
Right.
30 at the time. You'd never know it. As soon as
Sure.
he got suited up, man, he was lightning fast. He had a bunch of combinations that you just never know. Like you never know who knows how to fight. But it did give me a lot of confidence. I remember when I was kind of in the towards the end of that, I went out to Thailand and I fought a legitimate Thai boxer. I got my ass kicked.
Wait, is this a real story?
Me. But I had the confidence to be able to get in there and do it.
Was this like at a bar? Like
this was at a bar. It was maybe some of the listeners know exactly what I'm talking about. But there's they set up a boxing ring in the middle of a bar as like a form of entertainment. Because you can do that when you get outside of the U.S. And no one would fight me. None of the guys in the audience would fight me. So then this Thai guy was like, okay, I'll fight you. And I'm like, all right, cool. So at least we can put on a show here. And then the music comes on and he starts doing this dance. And then my buddy Joe tells me, he's like, dude, you're about to fight like a real Thai boxer. And I'm like, oh shit, you're right. Like he's not even putting on the headgear. Like I'm about to get my ass kicked. And the first round, we went 3 rounds. The first round, we just kind of traded back and forth. The second round, he started to turn it up. And then by the third round, he just completely started to kick my ass. And right at the end, it was by the third round, I was like, okay, I got to step up my game here. And I landed a pretty good one right on his face. And it was like a freaking movie, I mean, like I gave him everything I got, and all I did was piss him off because it connected right good. And his head just kind of turned to the side and then went straight back to me. And then I saw his eyes turn red and I'm like, oh, that was a mistake. And right after that, he lit me up and then he pulled this uppercut. I had my hands up in front of my face, just trying to block everything that was coming at me. And then my hands were going down because I was starting to the screen was getting smaller and I'm just getting tagged. And then just right at the end, he pulls this uppercut and he stops his fist just half an inch from my face where he could have just completely decleated me and knocked me out. And then right when he did that, then the guy that was on the bell, he rang the bell so that it would be over.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm definitely high now. This is just amazing, Steve. I mean, every time I think, this is not what I meant by giving up on something. You became fucking good enough to fucking step in a ring, man. I mean, you know how to throw a punch, and you must have been in pretty good shape. You go 3 rounds while you're punching.
Well, it was. I wouldn't say it was. I had a level of confidence that I shouldn't have had at the time, and it allowed me to fight a guy that could completely kick my ass.
I don't know if you got into it because you thought you were going to be the champion Thai boxer, though. I mean, my point is that you did it for a while and you became good at it, right? Or at least decent at it.
I guess proficient. Well, maybe that was a bad example. I don't know. There's some things like I took an online class on how to start your own business, and I went through the whole class and studied the stuff, and then I just never followed through, and it just didn't interest me. You know what I mean? And he talked. Well, maybe in a sense, I've kind of taken some of the stuff I've learned from that and applied it to this podcast. I don't know. There's shit all the time that I kind of.
Well, like you decided pretty quickly the Amazon thing just was not.
Yeah.
It was too little, but you proved you did it very well, Steve. You right away you were doing it optimally, really.
Yeah.
Finding the cheapest stuff that sells for the most, and so you're successful at it. So this is I'm really like looking for failure, something that's frustrated you that that you just. But so the Amazon wasn't a failure. It's just you decide you're going to put your energies elsewhere. But you did it smartly, right? I mean, you're a success at that.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe with women, I'm pretty good at getting girls. I'm not very good at keeping them. That could be one area. Let's see. What's another one?
I don't know, Steve. I'm not trying to get you to, but it's some of these little exotic things you know how to do, like Thai box here, which I never knew until 7 minutes ago, which is fascinating to me.
I don't know. I feel like we're rambling now. We should probably put a bow on this one.
Steve, I never ramble. Shut the fuck up. But I'm ready to go. Anyways, I want to kick back and watch a movie here.
Right on. All right, man.
Okay, buddy. Well,
thank you, sir. Good luck at the tables, and yeah.
Okay, man. Talk to you later. Stay safe.
Okay, and thank you for tuning in. Here is your weekly motivational speech.
Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
Pain is temporary. It may last for a minute, or an hour, or a day, or even a year. But eventually, it will subside, and something else will take its place. If I quit, however, it will last forever.
The margin for error is so small. I mean, 1/2 a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us. They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second.
You got a dream, you got to protect it. People can't do something themselves, they want to tell you you can't do it. You want something, go get it. Period.
Don't be afraid to fail. You can't always win, but don't be afraid of making decisions.
You have to believe that something different can happen. He who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right.
That most of you say you want to be successful, but you don't want it bad. You just kind of want it. You don't want it badder than you want to party. You don't want it as much as you want to be cool. Most of you don't want success as much as you want to sleep.
Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us.
Dig deep down, ask yourselves, who do you want to be? Figuring out for yourselves what makes you happy, no matter how crazy it may sound to the people.
Make a choice. Like, you just decide what it's going to be, who you're going to be, how you're going to do it. Just decide.